Meghan Markle and Harry have had the annus horribilis from hell. They will, of course, tell you that 2024 was the greatest year possible for a high-achieving couple who have conquered the world. As Meg would say, that's their truth. But here's the truth. The gruesome twosome's grand plans to make smash hit TV shows for Netflix and make planet Earth a better place through their selfless global charity work have come to precisely nothing. Netflix-wise, as part of their staggering $100 million deal, they delivered a stupefyingly feeble 5-part series about polo, a niche horse sport that Harry and his privileged pals just love. But outside of their wealthy elite circles, no one could care less. Panned by critics as boring and pointless, polo was a no-no with the public. Charity-wise, their grandiosely named Archwell Foundation received in donations a meagre $5,750,000, $5 million of which came from one mystery benefactor who many suspect was Harry himself, anxious to spare the blushes of a dismal do-gooder outfit that was dying on its backside. Either way, just under $6 million isn't the kind of comparatively paltry sum that could change anything much at all. Meanwhile, looking back on 12 months of Markle-style triumph, there was the slow-motion car crash of American Riviera Orchard, her lifestyle site devoid of life. The dynamic Duchess launched her alleged money-making venture way back in March. Now, as we march into 2025, it's not open for business, mired in legal wrangling and going nowhere fast. Her troubles spiralled after an investigation by The Hollywood Reporter labelled her a bullying boss tyrant in high heels and turned her into Tinseltown's answer to Toxic City. As Harry busied himself with a worthy but dull documentary about his Invictus Games for military heroes and some nebulous nonsense about leadership, Meg plunged into the weird wonder of the Sussexes' pretend royal tours. First in May, their oddball odyssey to Nigeria, 72 photo op hours, throughout which they posed for pictures, visited schools and launched a 2-day summit on their favourite subject, mental health. Bemused locals wondered what the hell they were doing there. We're still not sure. Do you know? Answers on a postcard, please. Although the diverse Duchess did get to tell everyone that apparently she's 43% Nigerian. She told us that many times. What dedicated feminist Meghan didn't mention was Nigeria's abysmal human rights record, the rife practice of female genital mutilation, and the poor young girls kidnapped and held as sex slaves by Boko Haram terrorists. Then, Africa done, the jet-setting duo headed for a new continent and new photo opportunities. Next stop, South America, and a similarly mysterious whistle-stop tour of Colombia. More school visiting, and that old royal tour staple, watching tribal dancing. Yawn. After hailing both of these bizarre joints as stellar successes, the scintillating Sussexes are planning to grace more lucky nations with their faux regal presence. No one knows why. In other bad news, Harry's new hobby of preening himself with Toy Town trophies was pathetic to behold. What on earth did he think he was doing at a superficial ceremony in Beverly Hills, accepting from aeroplane-obsessed actor John Travolta a Legends of Aviation award? For his bravery flying helicopters in Afghanistan, we salute Harry. But that does not by a long chalk make him a legend of aviation. But if that was embarrassing, it was nothing on the preposterous prince's excruciating humiliation when he leapt at the chance to undeservedly win the Pat Tillman Award for services to military veterans. All-American hero Pat gave up a multi-million-dollar football star contract to serve his country in Iraq and Afghanistan. where he was killed in 2004. Upon learning that a British aristocrat was to be honoured in the name of her son, Pat's seething mother, Mary, stormed, "I am shocked as to why they would select such a controversial and divisive individual." In spite of this damning rebuke from a furious mum, beaming Harry bounded onto the stage in Las Vegas to receive the gong on live TV. A profoundly tragic moment. He looked proud, we looked away. Adrift on a sad sea of self-glorification, can this rudderless royal sink any lower? Almost certainly. Who knows what horrors 2025 may bring.
So this is a really nice end to the year. Princess of Wales has not been seen very much. Again, we don't know the extent of the cancer treatment that she has had, other than to know she has had to have extensive cancer treatment, but looking in fine health yesterday, and really nice for the fans to see her, right?
Correct. And if you sort of take pictures from 12 months ago and then you look at the pictures today, you would have thought, well, not much has happened in terms of the way she went about her business yesterday. But obviously it has been a pretty traumatic year for her, as she has overcome and trying to overcome her health problems. The same applies to the King. It is part of the traditional Christmas day for the royal family, the walk to the church, and, you know, it is stage managed. You could see the way it was sort of, you know, the King's first and then Prince William and his wife and family. It's very much a pecking order how you walk to church. You know, it's very much, you know, things are staged managed, but amazing number of people coming from all over the world. It seems there's people from Paris all trying to get an opportunity to wish the Princess of Wales well, and indeed the King. So the optics were good from that point of view. And obviously, it might have been more complicated had the Duke of York been there, because that may have been a distraction and one of the reasons why it was almost insisted upon that he did not come to Sandringham, or certainly not that he went to Sandringham in the end, but he would never have been allowed on that church walk.
Well, 2024 had many challenges for the royal family. Cancer in regard to the King and indeed the Princess of Wales. So what's 2025 going to look like for them? We have those numbers as well totted up. Sophie Wessex, the Duchess of Edinburgh, she has had lots of foreign trips and has done loads and loads of different engagements. But of course, we know that the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, as always, tops the list of the royals who has carried out the most engagements. Well, Rupert Bell is Talk's royal correspondent and can take us through all of this now. Rupert, where do you think things stand for the royal family now as the final day of 2024, looking into 2025?
Well, I think it's a period of sort of regrouping and hopefully going forward with positive news on all fronts, because obviously 2024, you know, it was a couple of weeks into this year that obviously things had a seismic change with the hospitalisation of both the King and the Princess of Wales. And that meant, you know, everything was sort of turned on its head. For the Prince of Wales, obviously he had the issue of dealing not only with his father getting diagnosed, but more significantly, his wife as well. So it meant that he had to curtail his arrangements as well, because obviously his priorities was to look after his wife and children, as anyone would, whoever you are, in whatever circumstances. So they will be hoping that this Christmas break sort of heralds a new dawn in what has been a very difficult year for them, and gives them the opportunity to get back out on the road. There has been talk that the Princess of Wales wants to get back foreign travel again, doing some official visits overseas. So those are all good signs, but obviously we just hope that the medical advice that they're getting is all very encouraging and that enables them to do that.
What is happening in 2025 that is a bit different? Are there anniversaries? Are there things that the royals will be taking part in beyond the routine of things that they do every year, Rupert? Are there things that are coming up that we think are particularly interesting for the royals, and where we'll see them perhaps out and about even more than we would have before?
I don't think there's anything obvious. I think they just want to be out and about.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be the, you know, obviously from the end of the Second World War, 1945, so there may be some celebrations around that. But apart from anything else, I can't think off the top of my head if there's any, but they are planning visits and state visits to this country. So I don't think we're in for anything that is suddenly we're going to be focusing on something enormous. There's no sort of royal weddings or anything like that in the corner. So I suppose it's just a period of regrouping. And I think that's the important thing now. They've got to get back out there and engage again with the British public, particularly the ones where the King has been pretty good, even under these circumstances, of making sure that he is as visible as he can be. The Princess of Wales has been different, but obviously over the last couple of months, we have seen a little bit more of it, obviously with that Christmas carol concert in Westminster Abbey, and obviously the semi-official, quasi-public, private walk to the church, which is almost like a sort of official function now, because it is staged, managed within an inch of its life. You just look at the order that they walk in there. It's not just, oh, I'm off to church now, I'll see you there. No, it is very staged, managed, that particular walk to the church. Obviously, there are lots of people there, but then looking forward, we hopefully will see them back out and about again in January and forever onwards.
Tell us about the two most problematic royals, Prince Andrew and indeed Prince Harry. How are relations with them likely to change, if at all, in 2025?
I'm not expecting, again, a huge shift. For Harry and Meghan, I think they just have got to somehow kick on and find a way of making their current move to America come off, because obviously we saw that Polar documentary, which I don't think moved the Netflix dial much. Obviously there's still talk of a cooking show, the launch of American Riviera Orchard for Meghan. So they'll be hoping that and Invictus Games, I think, will be an important moment for Harry, because we know that's something he's passionate about. That comes up in February in Canada. So that'll be a chance for him to reconnect and make it about him, because some of recent Invictus Games, he's found himself, it's not all about him, where he's the one who should be connecting with the servicemen and women there and making and showing his passion. And I do know that when he goes there and he's sort of left to his own devices, he's the Harry of old. So hopefully he will get a chance to engage with everybody and once again show what a part he's got to play in being a figurehead around something as significant as the Invictus Games.
We saw firstly in February King Charles was diagnosed with cancer, and then shortly thereafter in March the Princess of Wales, Kate, followed thereafter. And I think they've both displayed some extraordinary fortitude, the best of British, just making do and muddling through as best as they can in very difficult circumstances. And of course, the spirit they've shown has contrasted so much against their respective brothers in the form of Harry and Meghan, who have continued their global whinging tour from California, and of course Prince Andrew, who's continued to whinge and whine as best as he can that how awful it is that he's stuck there in his 100-room mansion in Windsor at the King's expense.
I mean, at least Andrew has not given interviews directly against his family. He's just disgraced them in slightly other ways, whereas, of course...
But it's how many ways now, Christo? I mean, the best friend being a paedophile is, that's come and gone. We've now gone to the Chinese spy, and that was almost...
I feel a bit sorry for him over the Chinese spy, though. I do. And, OK, you're right, the paedophile thing, you cannot keep... There's no way of getting around that and going and staying with someone who's convicted as a paedophile. But what we do fail to mention, and let's not make any bones about it, Andrew is clearly not the sharpest tool in the box. Why would he have to be if he's had, toothpaste put in his brush for him? You don't have to think really very critically about things, do you? Hence, going and staying with a paedophile. However, if someone who is alleged, of course it's denied, but alleged to be a spy is photographed with Theresa May, photographed with David Cameron, and ends up in these corridors of power, well then how on earth was Prince Andrew supposed to know?
Christo, if a Chinese businessman pitches up on your doorstep, offers you millions of pounds, despite being thick as two planks, as I think it's fair to say that dear Prince Andrew might be, in order for you to grease the wheels with various challenges and business connections that he has, and wants you to fly out to China and
Pitch at Palace, don't forget Pitch at Palace.
picture Palace China, then the alarm bells ought to be ringing.
But isn't that the job of his advisors? Shouldn't have his advisors said, you know what?
The worst bit about it is one of his advisors was boasting that this Chinese businessman had managed to smuggle people in and out without the rest of the palace authorities knowing. They knew what they were doing was dodgy, but they were after the money and they were quite happy to rub it home.
Didn't King Charles accept, was it Fortnum and Mason carrier bags full of dollars or euros or cash from Saudi businessmen as well? I mean, they're all a bit stupid, aren't they? They're all are. I love them. Don't get me wrong. I'm a monarchist, but I don't know whether I would call them the sharpest tools in the box. I think William's quite intelligent, but not many of them are.
Well, it's a certain type of schooling and, dare I say, certain type of breeding that's gone into creating our beloved royal family.
I'm not sure that's a compliment, but I think we should take it as one.
Can I just ask you, first of all, about the King's speech? I had a message saying, from someone saying they really didn't like the King's speech, that it didn't hit the right notes. Your thoughts?
I think it was safe, but obviously there was areas that might be perceived as controversial. When he was talking about the sort of come after the Southport riots and all that went on around that from all sides. But he did just go into, I suppose, in a safe venue, a different venue, obviously, going to this church, to this chapel, non-denominational, but obviously paying tribute to all the doctors.
Are you all right? You might need a doctor.
The doctors and nurses. I've just got one of these winter colds, but I'm fighting through. You may not have any heating. I've just been battling.
Well, I mean, you know what you need is a little dram of whiskey.
Well, I've been doing that. Medicinal compound has been. I've had a wee dram or two, but not already yet, David.
Oh, okay. It's a bit late for you. 9:12.
I would say though that it sort of felt like a 6 out of 10 King's speech. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I got the bit about the chapel. It was very personal and his own cancer experience, and of course Kate's cancer experience and everything. I then thought it went a bit waffly.
Yeah, and I think this is the problem. How does he do something without sort of upsetting people? That's always the fine line. And also, I sort of the reflections. Is it resonating? You talk about politicians now, or young, maybe going for reform or wherever they're heading. Do the young, i.e. people probably 20-somethings and younger, care about the King's speech? Does it resonate? Does it have a place? Does it need to be revamped, looked at in the way he gets his message over at Christmas? No one's, I think, saying he shouldn't do something, but how this sort of has to be at 3 o'clock and all that sort of stuff. It's no longer a sort of must-view appointment. When we were young, or I was certainly young,
I agree.
We sort of stopped everything at 3 o'clock and then moved on afterwards. My older generations, they were all practically standing to attention when the national anthem came on and all that. I'm sure now, I'd be interesting to know what the viewing figures, they've been putting out what it was for Gavin and Stacey at 12 point whatever it was. How many people actually sat down and watched the King's speech at 3 o'clock across the various outlets? I'd be interested to know how, most families probably are saying we've got to stop everything for the King's speech. I'm sure some families will still do it, but I'm sure it's now an increasing, diminishing number.
Well, I can tell you 6.82 million watched.
Well, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, that's not bad.
No. I mean, I think, like my family, we were in the middle of it. We didn't eat till later, so we didn't watch, but I watched it later.
Well, and in a way, I couldn't. I had to, well, obviously, I've watched it about 50 times for obvious reasons. But I didn't watch it at 3 o'clock because I was doing something else.
Well, quite.
But at 6.8, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, that's quite a punchy figure in the sort of modern TV sort of viewing habits.
Yeah.
That's quite. So I suppose people still want to see it, but whether they come away with it at the end sort of energized and sort of feeling positive. But you've got to also remember he is recovering from cancer.
Well,
so
I think the other thing is he also has that very difficult line to tread, doesn't he? Because he's not allowed to be overtly political.
Yeah.
And so then how do you get that balance right?
Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, she has now finished her cancer treatment. So presumably, health-wise, we are to now believe all is well.
I don't know whether she's finished. Just like the King saying he's continuing his treatment, what extent that the way that Kate's health is, Princess Catherine's health is being managed, I don't know. And none of us actually know the full details. But I think we just have to take it on trust that it's great that we're able to see her as we did, not only earlier this month when they recorded the Christmas Carol concert that was broadcast on Christmas Eve, and now we've seen her at Christmas, but we probably now won't see her again until the new year. But when, we're not sure. But hopefully this is a sort of leading to more regular appearances on the public stage so that she can go about her business.
Do you think we'll ever know, and I'm talking about here not from a salacious gossip point of view, but from the point of view of Princess Catherine, or indeed the King, using their platform once their treatment is over to perhaps raise awareness? Do you think we'll ever know the kind of cancers that they have suffered from?
Well, I think we're probably fairly aware of where the King's condition, he went in with a prostate problem, and he has been fairly vocal in, that's one of the reasons I think he drew attention to it, not the sort of the nitty-gritty of the details, but in sense trying to put it out there that, and make people aware. So I think the King probably has done it, but in the Princess of Wales's case, she felt all things private. And I think it should always remain private unless ultimately she feels there is a need to do so, because she feels she might be able to help other people and draw attention to whatever cancer or whatever issue she's had. But at the moment, she will keep them firmly private.
Harry is seemingly completely rudderless at the moment. And you ask, what is 2025 going to bring? I think divorce. I think, I know that everyone gets upset when I start, pontificating about their relationship.
I don't.
But I actually think that you can't really recover from a year like this. I don't know where they're going to go. They haven't really set out anything that they're going to do.
Because they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got no idea.
Yeah, and we see them spending more and more time apart. They still kind of haven't really been seen together. And we see that the brand is crumbling. And we see that they haven't been able to actually understand who they are as a couple. And I think that that's going to be the end for them. Yeah. They don't actually have a proper brand. They haven't been able to forge anything, really. They haven't been able to develop anything, to sell anything. The Polo documentary, as we said, was the final nail in the coffin for them.
For the Netflix deal, that's gone.
Yeah, that's all gone. And no one's going to trust them anymore. There's no other sort of production company handing out hundreds of millions of dollars to fund their weird lifestyle. So, yeah, I just think that 2025 is going to be a reckoning for Harry, and I think he is going to re-enter back into the fold of the royal family, where he belongs and what he was, bred to do. He's very good at being a royal, but he's not great at being a normal commoner.
That's why they do these weird faux royal tours, these pretend royal tours, because that's all he can do. Just go around going, oh, that's a marvellous tribal dance. Lovely to see. Ooh, school kid. Hi. Photo opportunity. Hello. It's just, that's what they do. Now, two things there. I mean, we are now hearing that after the disaster of Polo, and it really was a disaster. It was terrible to watch, and nobody is watching it. That Netflix may not... She's already filmed this cooking series. Netflix may not even bother to show it. They're so fed up with those two. They are finding her a nightmare to work with, as everybody does. And this weird thing, Simon, that we do know, this is a fact, that their brand image advisors... in the middle of the year, I think it was fairly soon after their second weird royal tour, this one of Colombia, said, when you appear together, people don't like you. As a couple, people don't like you. Start appearing separately. And ever since then, last 6 months or so, they've just never been seen together. Now, that sparks speculation that their marriage might be over. But to cut them some slack, it may just be that in order to promote themselves, they've come to realise if they're together, it's a negative. If they're not, maybe they can get a positive out of it. It's a weird situation.
Yeah, I mean, looking back over their year, I think depending on which rose-tinted spectacles you want to look at it, it's either been a disaster, they kept Samara away, or it's just another year if you look at it.
Actually, and it was a catastrophe. That's what it was.
But I kind of sort of think to myself, they are still very much in the news. They are getting
well, that's because they want to be. Yeah.
They're getting awards for certain things. They are
Toy Town awards.
They are championing.
They're silly awards.
They are championing projects which are close to their heart, and they are.
What are they?
Well, they've got Invictus is close to his heart. He's gone to the.
That's not a cause, is it? That's not a cause.
Oh, I think
it's
it is.
something that he developed.
I wouldn't want to knock the Invictus.
Okay, well,
I don't want to knock.
We can argue. We can argue the merits.
Can I just say that it is something that he developed while he was within the royal family, and I think that's what we're seeing here is that without the structure of the monarchy, they're really struggling because they can't actually forge anything of their own. They're thinking, oh yeah, it's one of those situations where it's like, I can go do this on my own, it's no problem, and then you quickly realise how much work goes into something like being royal and how many other appendages you need.
Because also, I think as well that sort of they do become easy targets when they're outside that protective fold of the royal family. I think that's true.
Point to something that was developed during that time.
Okay, no, I'm sort of saying.
What about since they left?
Okay,
Simon?
I'm saying. Well, I was saying before I was interrupted, and I did have a thread.
So rudely.
I'm pulling myself back into. Yes, I was saying that they've done that thing of like. They were promoting that anti-bullying cause. They were doing other stuff. He's still got his place out in Lesotho that he goes and looks after. He's very high up in Travelist, which has made some mergers and acquisitions.
That's
he's still
the ethical travel company.
Yes, but you can
get
still
on a jet, ruin the planet.
However,
but be ethical.
However, like I said at the
ethical, my ass.
Like I said at the beginning of what I said, depending on which way you want to look at it, it's either been a disaster or they're making baby steps in a certain way. I think that what they need to do, is they've had a go at sort of doing all this entrepreneurial stuff. I think they need to move away from the TV stuff, move away from the media stuff. And I think they need to concentrate.
They need to work out what they're all about, don't they?
Yeah, I think they need to concentrate on, as you say, what he's
as a couple, they've got to concentrate on they've got to work out what they are about because they don't, at the moment, they don't know. Their television dreams are, in the toilet, shattered, gone.
So what I think...
they're not making films, they're not making TV series.
I think they're good at...
What is she doing, for God's sake?
What I think they're good at is I think if they can pick some great stuff, they're good at shining a light on that great stuff if they don't make it all about themselves.
They're not,
and that's the difficulty.
But they went to Colombia and started going on about, online harm. I'm not going to knock the fact that they're campaigning to help children who are affected by online harm and parents. And
exactly.
Kids. And fine. I mean, I don't think they put their heart and soul into it particularly. But by all means. But they go to Colombia, online harm. In Colombia, the average person earns about $2 a week. They can't afford computers or phones. So once again, they're barking up the wrong tree.
But it's still
and classic Meghan, I mean, if she had a royal advisor, they'd say, oh, maybe don't wear a $100,000 outfit to that event. Like, this is the thing that they're really missing out on. They're a bit too Hollywood for what they're trying to achieve here. Yeah. Hollywood. Yeah. But it's right. It's correct.
But that's what I'm saying.
Or they're not really Hollywood enough, are they?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, after the bullying thing, they're finished in Hollywood.
You're right.
So 2025 for those two is going to be interesting to watch because, as I say, I think they've come to a point where they don't know what they are. They just don't know. You got some comments anyway, Samara.
I do. Lainey has said, enjoy your show, but please do not address Harry and Meghan as Montecito majesties. They are and have never been majesties, and it's very insulting to the monarchy, which, from what I can tell you, you respect.
Who's that from?
That's from Lainey.
Well, Lainey, I only do it ironically. It's, I'm sort of talking them down, taking the mickey out of them.
Lainey, never ever fear. Kevin is never ever praising them in any universe whatsoever. So if you ever think he's giving them any slack whatsoever, you've misinterpreted what he said. I just want to make clear that up.
Indeed, I just hope for Harry and Meghan that one day they have children because you've got some more comments. Samara.
Speaking of, Kathleen says, no children, no career, no respect, no marriage, no common sense.
Yeah. Harry and Meghan.
Thoughts?
No children, no future. It's just not on. I mean, it's actually the kids,
Oh, please. please, let's not do this. Let's have a week where we don't do this. They have children. They don't want to show the children's faces all the time. That's allowed. Yeah. Move away from the children, everybody. Move away from the children.
They have children without faces. Another comment, Samara.
Elizabeth has said, Harry gave up his popularity and royal roles in order to find freedom. However, he is privileged, self-absorbed, and a victim of his own creation. He trashed his own country through Medium, but however, contradicts his angst against the press. My opinion is that he should get a real life and stop moaning about how hard done by he is. Elizabeth. Is that Elizabeth?
Good anyway. Point, Elizabeth. Very good point. My feeling about Harry, and we can bring in his wicked uncle Andrew as well here. Both those two, if you're born into that royal family, you need a certain amount of intelligence to handle the extraordinary deal you've been handed in life. It is extraordinary to be a member of that family. And you need to understand the privilege you've been given, the position you've been given, and you need to handle that with grace and humility. And, William and Kate in particular do it, but the whole royal family do it well, apart from Harry and Andrew. And the reason that Harry and Andrew are so bad at handling themselves as being members of the royal family, the reason they're a couple of pompous oafs is they're dumb. They're dumb. They haven't got a brain cell between them. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So, Harry, forget it, mate.
There's that saying, isn't there? People who are born on third base but think they've hit a home run. And I think that actually I kind of agree with you in some ways. I've got a lot of time for Harry because I kind of am very empathetic about, and I know that nobody goes on about this enough, about his mum and the situation. Let me finish. Let me finish in the way that he's constantly, and the way that he's been brought up. But I think that actually the best and the safest and the cleverest thing that they could do is say, we're not royal. We're not faux royals,
and we don't want titles for our
king. We're going to extricate ourselves. We're going to extricate ourselves from that position.
Let's talk about the Duke of Sussex. I'll be careful what I say there. The headline in the Telegraph: mental health firm that employs Duke of Sussex is branded a toxic train wreck.
Yeah, better help. Yeah, and that's not a good look for Prince Harry because obviously they trumpet the fact that he's one of their sort of frontline sort of ambassadors and very important. Yet you would think that obviously internally within this organisation, they've got some problems. Now, I don't know. Sometimes, is it just a rogue person saying something that they're sort of unhappy with the way they've been treated? I don't know. But it's not a good look when Harry is trying to branch out and find how much is he actually doing for them? Is he just turning up, walking onto the stage, saying a few sort of bit of word salad and then walking off again?
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's obviously Better Help, obviously, is trying to prove that they're one of the great companies, I think, in this field, they would suggest. But obviously, behind the scenes, all may not be quite so rosy in that Better Help garden.
No, well, quite.
Now, I'm going to say something controversial here, but I think that he's as thick as two short planks. He has not been smart at all. He's clearly an idiot, and I can come up with more disparaging things to say about him. But I feel a bit sorry for Prince Andrew in as much as every family's got an idiot. Every family's got someone at Christmas that they need to sort of sit with and go and grin and bear. And I completely understand the royals distancing themselves and taking away his duty over his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and that ridiculous Newsnight interview. Absolutely awful, ridiculous, silly thing for him to have done, and showing no humility. However, the Chinese spy allegation, which appears to be where them ostracising him at Christmas has come from, well, no one in the British government who this alleged Chinese spy, I should say, was hanging out with knew that he was apparently a Chinese spy. He was hanging around the highest echelons of government. Prince Andrew's advisors clearly didn't know that this guy might have had connections to various groups in China that would have compromised his security. So I wonder whether on that particular story he's being a little bit too harshly treated.
I think it's a difficult one because, but he has had a history over his life of injudicious choice of friends. And he there is question marks about where he's getting the money to maintain his lifestyle within Royal Lodge. And that probably is all part of the problem, that he's just not picked his friends wisely. And as you say, he's probably not the sharpest tool in the box. So therefore he gets himself into a bit of a problem. And it is rather sad when you see the Duchess of York, his ever loyal ex-wife, putting out an Instagram post, you know, saying, you know, wishing people a happy Christmas, and with the corgis in the background, her sort of, you know, I don't know, quasi-royal message, but showing, you know, a bit of love and empathy. So it is just a bit sad, but it's probably, you've got to look at it and say, well, he has created this mess for his family. And they didn't need the story to be about Prince Andrew walking down to church. They actually wanted the focus to be, as it has been, as you've seen from all the papers, on the King and the Princess of Wales. It would not have been, that would have been the story, because people will want to focus on the bad apple, as he is perceived in many people's eyes.
And you can't get past the fact that he remained friends with the convicted paedophile. I mean, I think whatever way you try and spin that, you can't get past how the stupidity of that. Then, of course, ultimately paying off Virginia Giuffre, though, of course, we should point out that the Duke of York still maintains that there was no wrongdoing on his part and doesn't remember ever meeting her.